"Jack, you are single, aren't you?" Out of the blue, I was called in by the boss, and I had no clue what he was getting at. "Yes, I'm single, but why do you ask?" "There's been a request from a client's daughter who wants to meet you for a matchmaking. You'll accept, right?" Could such a sweet deal really exist for me, already hitting 40? While skeptical, I remembered the layoffs my colleague mentioned. Rejecting this could very well put me on the chopping block. With such calculating thoughts, I reluctantly agreed to the matchmaking. However, on the day, I was approached by the client's daughter saying, "It's nice to see you again." Recognizing her, I couldn't help but exclaim. But what followed was even more surprising. The reason is, meeting her was going to change my life dramatically. I'm Jack, nearing 40. What you'd call middle-aged. Just a typical office worker. Looking back, as a kid, I always strived to be straightforward and despised any unjust conduct. Probably because I used to look up to the heroes I saw on TV. That sense of justice undoubtedly gave me confidence. It must have been early in elementary school, when I witnessed a girl who newly moved into the neighborhood, being harassed by some boys in our class. "You're really short." "Shorty, shorty." "I'm not short." She was trying hard not to cry, her eyes welling up. "Hey, don't be mean to a girl." I couldn't stand it and stood up to the boys. They seemed younger than me and scattered the moment they saw me. "Thanks. Those boys always pick on me. But today I'm so happy because you saved me. I'm sure you were doing well on your own too." "I'm Jack. If anything happens again, tell me." Her name was Emily, but she called herself Mimi. It seemed she didn't have any friends yet. From that day, whenever Emily saw me, she'd run over happily. Finding her adorable, I felt like I had a little sister and would play with her whenever I had free time. "Mimi, do you want to explore around the park's pond today, or is there something else you'd like to do?" "I want to go to the park, but I'm not allowed to go alone yet." "That's okay, I'm with you. Let's go together." "Yeah. I love you, Jackie." While we played together, Emily would say things like, "When I grow up, I'm gonna marry Jack." But promises made in childhood seldom come true. Emily had to move away due to her father's job. The day before she moved, she came to see me with tears in her eyes, just like when we first met. "I don't want to say goodbye to you. I'm sad about saying goodbye to you too, but there's nothing we can do. When I'm all grown up, I'm gonna marry you. That's why I made this. Mom taught me how. Don't forget our promise, okay?" Saying that, Emily gave me a handmade keychain. She must have worked really hard on it. Though it had an odd shape, it had my name engraved on it, and it became my treasure. Time flew by, and now I'm an adult, working a sales job at a real estate company. Heading to work feels like a drag today. When I first got the job, I was full of pride and motivation. I thought my mission was to stand in their shoes and make sales that would make the customers happy. But reality is not so simple. My ideal way of selling didn't bring in results, and I was constantly scolded by my boss. "I don't know if you're too serious or what, but this is not working. You need to bring in contracts more efficiently like the others. A little inconvenience won't be noticed by the customers if you keep quiet." Even if I wanted to argue with my boss's words, I couldn't, not without better results. I noticed my colleagues laughing at me behind my back. "That guy is such an idiot. What's all this for the customer nonsense? He should just fudge it and be done. Maybe he just wants to say he's diligent, huh?" Scolded by the boss, ridiculed by colleagues. My spirit was gradually worn down. Yay, it's a job. You have to produce results. Suppressing my conscience, I began to hide inconvenient truths from customers to secure contracts. Even if complaints came later, I'd feign ignorance, and my once straightforward character had become twisted. Now, I don't take pride in my work anymore. I just sell for the sake of performance. Feeling wrong about how I work makes every day a drag. But ironically, the more I bent my principles in sales, the more my contract numbers increased, and I started to get recognized by my boss and colleagues. "Your contract numbers are looking good today too. You've really got it when you try." When I secure a contract, my boss is in a good mood. But once work is over, I'm overwhelmed with a gloomy feeling every day. What am I doing this job for? Is this really what I wanted to do? In the end, I kept on with the job, having doubts, yet continuing aimlessly. Before I knew it, I had turned 40. The only time I feel truly like myself and at peace is when I draw, a hobby I started in high school. Back in school, I often clashed with classmates because I wasn't very flexible. I knew they called me a difficult person. I was frustrated and troubled by my inability to get along with others. That's when I started drawing, a hobby where I could immerse myself in my own world and find peace. Focusing solely on the beautiful scenery in front of me, I created my own world on the canvas. It was the most soothing time for me, above anything else. And that continued even after I became a working adult. On weekends, I'd head to a nearby park or the riverbank. Losing myself in my hobby of painting and nature, I could really feel the seasons. The tulips were starting to grow, getting ready to bloom. I hadn't realized that spring is just around the corner. While I was lost in thought, walking, I heard a woman's shrill voice. "Please stop." It seemed she was being bothered by a drunken picnicker. "Hey, what are you doing?" She clearly doesn't appreciate it. I instinctively stood in front of the woman and drove the drunk away. Fortunately, the drunk person left quickly, and the woman looked relieved. "Are you okay? Thank you so much. You saved me. Everyone drinks too much and gets carried away this time of year. Still, it's a real nuisance for women." The woman gave a troubled smile at my words. "It's a hassle just going to the park nearby, isn't it?" Looking at the woman's belongings, I saw an easel, a sketchbook, and a large bag. "Do you paint, by any chance?" "Yes, I do." "Wait, do you too?" Seeing my belongings, the woman looked surprised. Then, we looked at each other and laughed. After a good laugh, we introduced ourselves. "I'm Jack. I often paint around here." "I'm Emily. This place is quiet and the tulips are beautiful, so I've been painting here a lot recently." We hit it off from there and enjoyed painting together. Emily's paintings were incredibly good. "Your paintings are almost magical, Emily." "I'm glad you think so. I'm actually trying to become a professional." "Really? I'm sure you'll make it." "I hope so. But I'm already in my mid-30s, and my parents keep telling me to stop dreaming and get a real job or settle down and get married." I was surprised at her words. "What? You look mid-20s at most." "You're good." I'm flattered. But before I knew it, I reached this age without achieving much. Still, I don't want to live bending my dreams. Her eyes were on the tulip buds, and I could see a strong conviction in them. Becoming a working adult, I realized I had lost something that she still possessed. Seeing how determined she looked, I felt a bit ashamed of my current way of living. "Emily, you'll be fine. Anyone who can paint such beautiful pictures will surely be recognized someday." After some small talk, we parted ways. Talking with Emily made me question my current lifestyle. The following month after meeting Emily, I was suddenly called into the president's office. Lately, the company's sales had been falling. With rumors of layoffs circulating, I was anxious as I went into the office. Entering the president's office, I was greeted by a surprisingly cheerful boss who asked me an unexpected question. "Jack, you're single, right?" "Yes." "Why?" "Well, the other day, a client's president came to greet us with his daughter." And I couldn't grasp the intention behind my boss's question. But without minding my confusion, the president continued. "It seems his daughter caught a glimpse of you and took a great liking to you. She has requested to meet with you. What do you say? You'll meet her, won't you?" "Me? Are you sure? A 40-year-old guy like me? Could there be some mistake?" I asked again, thinking it might be a mix-up. But it seemed there was none. "The client specifically asked for you. If this matchmaking goes well, it could solidify our business relationship. I really hope you'll accept." I had no strong desire to marry, and above all, such a convenient offer seemed too good to be true. I thought about declining, but then I remembered what a colleague had mentioned about layoffs. If I refused, I might end up being targeted for layoffs. Well, meeting her shouldn't be a problem. So, I calculatedly decided to accept the matchmaking. Yet, I wasn't convinced. Suspicious, I headed to the designated fancy restaurant on the day. Arriving at the place, I was intimidated by the chandeliers and the grand entrance that awaited me. Feeling nervous, I took a deep breath and entered. I was led to a room where our president and the young lady were already waiting. She seemed modest, a perfect image of traditional beauty. After exchanging greetings and introductions, the president said, "Well, I'll leave you two young folks alone now," and left. With just the two of us, I was at a loss for words. Just as I was about to say something, she spoke up. "It's nice to see you again, Jack." Contrary to her previously quiet demeanor, she spoke to me with confidence. Excuse me, Emily. From the other day." "Yes, that's right. Didn't you remember me?" Her mischievous smile was childlike and endearing. "No way, you looked so different. I thought you were someone else." "Well, last time I was wearing a hat and not this fancy makeup." She laughed, and I felt a bit relieved. "So, why did you suggest a matchmaking with me?" At my question, Emily's face suddenly fell. "When I went to your company with my dad, I saw you by chance. Later, my parents insisted on arranging a matchmaking for me, and in a panic, I blurted out your name. I thought if anyone could have an understanding of my dreams, it would be you. I'm sorry, was it a bother?" So that's what happened. Honestly, I was skeptical, thinking there must be some catch to being matched with an old guy like me. But now I get it. Knowing the reason, it's not a bother at all. When I reassured her, she smiled again, looking relieved. "I knew you would understand, Jack. Could I ask you one more favor, even though it's a bother?" "Sure, what is it?" "Would you marry me, even if it's just for show?" "What?" "Of course, we can divorce as soon as I'm able to stand on my own 2 feet. It'll secure the contract for your company, and I won't be a bother to you. Otherwise, I'll have to give up my dream." After a rapid-fire plea, her face suddenly looked like she was about to cry. From the first time we met, Emily talked about her dreams with sparkling eyes. I wanted to support her, perhaps because she possessed something I lacked. "That's fine by me." "Really?" "Yes, really. Really." Despite initiating the request, Emily looked surprised at my response. It makes sense. Normally, no one would agree so quickly. I'm not particularly fixated on marriage. I'm getting on in years and had given up on the idea anyway. Plus, after hearing so much from you last time, I wanted to support your dreams. Seeing my smile, Emily finally smiled back, relieved. "Thank you so much. Now that's settled, I'll report back. But first, since we're here, let's drop the formalities, shall we?" "Sounds good. I'm looking forward to this, Emily." "Me too, Jack. I never imagined the matchmaking arranged by the president would turn out like this. But with our secret agreement settled, Emily and I became a temporary team by fate. When we reported our intention to marry to the president and Emily's father, they were overjoyed. Before we knew it, everything was moving quickly. Given our ages and personalities, we opted for a small, family-only dinner instead of a big wedding ceremony. Thus, our married life began. Far from the typical newlywed life to our unique situation, life with Emily was surprisingly pleasant. Emily spent a lot of time painting in her room. Even so, she took care of her share of the household chores and, more importantly, cooked delicious meals. When Emily was too engrossed in her painting to leave her room, I'd quietly prepare some snacks for her, careful not to disturb her concentration. Our relationship, where we didn't hold back too much yet still respected each other, had somehow filled my heart before I knew it. Sometimes we'd go out painting together, or I'd get to see Emily's artwork. Even though we hardly knew each other at first, spending time together gradually brought us closer. Not lovers, not friends. A partner in a sham marriage. Yet, the more I discovered unknown sides to Emily, the more I wanted to cherish our relationship. One day, Emily came home unusually excited. "Jack, guess what? What's got you in such a good mood?" "I got the chance to enter a famous contest." "Well, that's great. If I win an award in this contest, I'll get a lot of attention as a professional artist. Then you're one step closer to your dream." "Yeah. You need a curator's recommendation to enter this contest, and I got one. I'll definitely win an award and make a living from my art." Emily was incredibly determined. I felt a strong desire to support her wholeheartedly. After that, Emily was like a woman possessed. She barely left her room, apparently working from early morning till late at night. Despite her efforts, she seemed unsatisfied with her work. Emily's complexion darkened day by day as she seemed unable to produce anything satisfactory. I was worried and wondered many times if I should talk to her, but I didn't know what to say, so all I could do was just stand by and watch. Then it happened. When I came home from work, I heard a loud noise from Emily's room. Worried something had happened, I rushed in. The room was a mess, and Emily was collapsed in the middle, surrounded by paintings that didn't look like her work at all. But more than the paintings, I was concerned about Emily. I picked her up and carried her to the living room sofa. "Let's take a break. I'll make some warm tea. Just wait here." "No time for breaks. I need to paint more, better paintings that'll impress the judges." Emily was completely overwhelmed by the pressure of the contest, mumbling to herself as if she was in another world. It was like she couldn't even see me. I wanted to say something, but felt like no words would reach her right now. Any superficial words wouldn't convey my feelings to Emily. That's when I remembered the numerous paintings scattered in her room. "Emily, what about those paintings? They're not like you at all. Are you really satisfied painting things that don't reflect you? Is the art you're creating now what you truly wanted to paint? What's the point of winning with art that isn't you?" I intended to speak kindly, to help her find herself again. Yet my words came out mirroring my own feelings. Maybe I was a bit too harsh. I realized it was too late as soon as I said it. Emily was hunched over, shaking. I couldn't see her face from where I was. "What do you know, Jack? I've been working desperately to become a professional." Emily's voice echoed through the room, sounding as if she were crying. "Sorry, I don't understand everything you're feeling. But I've been watching you paint all this time. I don't see any charm in paintings that anyone could make. I want you to paint the kind of art that's uniquely you, the kind I've always liked." I shared my honest feelings with her. Then, Emily sat quietly on the sofa without a word. An indescribable silence flowed between us. I placed a warm cup of herbal tea in front of her. After slowly drinking the tea, Emily went back to her room. The next morning, when I woke up, Emily was humming while making breakfast. "Good morning." Emily stopped humming when she noticed me awake. "Good morning, Jack. Thanks for yesterday. I thought about what you said. I realized I was too caught up in winning an award and lost sight of myself. But your words made me realize it might not work out, but I'm going to paint what I truly want to paint." Emily's smile seemed brighter than ever before. "Let's have breakfast. Oh, and before that, this." Remembering something, Emily brought out a key case to the table. "Is this yours?" "Ah, thanks. I must have dropped it when I entered the room yesterday." As I took the key case, Emily seemed thoughtful. "About this keychain on the case. This. A kid I used to play with all the time gave it to me when she moved away. It's gotten pretty old, but it holds a lot of good memories." "I see," she replied, with a tone that seemed to hold more meaning. But we just finished our breakfast and moved on. After that, Emily worked on her art with renewed vigor, as if her previous slump had been nothing. The piece for the contest gradually took shape, and she finished it just in time for the deadline. "It's finished, huh? Can I see it?" "No. Wait until the results are out. Then I'll show you." Unfortunately, I couldn't see the artwork right away, but maybe saving it for later, as something to look forward to, wasn't such a bad idea. So, the artwork was submitted. In the weeks that followed, while we carried on with our usual lives, there was an underlying restlessness, waiting for the contest results. When the notification finally arrived, both of us were so excited and nervous that we spilled tea and bumped into the sofa. Finally, opening the letter. "Ready? We're looking at this together." "Yeah, I'm here. Let's see." We looked down at the letter. There, in bold letters, was written "Best in Show." "I did it." "You really did." We looked at each other and shared a big high five. "Emily, let's go out to eat something delicious to celebrate today." "Yeah. But before that, I want to fulfill a promise. Will you see my painting?" "Of course." We went to Emily's room together. There, a delicate painting of tulips quietly stood. Amazing. I was utterly captivated by the artwork Emily had created. "This, you know, is inspired by the tulips we saw when we first met." "That's right. We met during that season." Then, I remembered something important and felt sad. "This means our marriage life is coming to an end, right?" Emily turned around with a surprised look. Then, she looked down, without saying anything. "This marriage was until you could stand on your own with your art, wasn't it? I'm gonna miss you." Then, Emily shook her head and tears started to spill. "I don't want that. Just like you've always been watching over me, I've always wanted to be by your side. I don't want us to be apart." Saying so, Emily slowly took out her smartphone. There, for some reason, was an old keychain, the same as mine, attached to it. Jack. No, I mean, Jackie. Don't you recognize me? I looked back and forth between the old keychain and Emily, who was staring at me intently. Could it be, Mimi? Is that you? With her eyes turning red, Emily smiled brightly. Yes, it's me. We finally found each other again. To think that Emily was Mimi all along. I was so shocked that I was at a loss for words. I didn't realize at first either. You know, as a kid, you were always confident and spoke your mind. You're so different now. I couldn't make the connection. Hearing that, I felt a sting in my heart. Yay, that's right. I got caught up in trying to get along with everyone around me as an adult. I lost the ability to stand up for what I thought was right. That's what happened, huh? Jackie, you must have been through a lot too. But when you told me my art wasn't like me, it reminded me of the old you. And finding that keychain, I was sure. Is that so? Thanks for noticing. Jackie, will you marry me again? For real this time? Emily's words made me so happy I felt tears coming. I was sad thinking our time together was ending. Am I good enough? Instead of answering, Emily just hugged me tightly. It's always been you, Jackie. I wouldn't have it any other way. After that, we naturally took each other's hands. In sickness and in health, I vow to be with you. In richer or poorer, I vow to be with you. We reaffirmed our marriage vows to each other. Even so, our daily life hasn't changed much. Just as a formal gesture, we exchanged rings once more, just the two of us. After winning the top prize in the contest, Emily started getting offers from various galleries, and many of her paintings began to sell. Thanks to a more comfortable lifestyle, we recently welcomed a fluffy kitten into our family, something Emily had always wanted. Personally, I've become even closer to Emily, building a relationship based on mutual respect more than ever before. And at work, I've been consciously trying to be more authentic. I changed my sales approach to not only highlight the advantages of the properties I introduced, but also to explain the disadvantages properly, and then consider what would best suit the customer. When I first started to make this change, I was worried that it might lead to a drop in contracts and a return to days filled with criticism. However, customers actually responded more positively to this new approach. Because I was honest about the downsides, they trusted me to choose properties that suited them best. Even if it didn't result in a contract right away, being seen as a trustworthy salesperson led to referrals and a growing network. Thanks to this, I am now achieving top sales performance and gaining recognition from those around me. Being straightforward with what I believe in can sometimes create friction or discomfort for others. However, by expressing my feelings honestly, without deceit, and respecting the other person's perspective and thoughts, I can build true trust. It was when I openly shared my feelings with Emily and respected hers that I first realized this. Now, surrounded by many trusting relationships, I am living happily. Today, like every day, we'll spend valuable time together, respecting each other. Grateful for the ordinary moments, I will cherish this happiness.